Omoda Adejo, and I lead the digital team at LSETF. Welcome to another edition of our weekly live series, Career Journeys and Prospects. We're going to be talking to Aisha and Iriayo, who are both on this call. Iriayo leads our Lagos Innovate team at LSETF, and Aisha is the founder of Farm2U. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So basically what we want to discuss today is, we want to discuss things around, we will be talking about our Workspace voucher. But right before we get into the Workspace voucher, we also want to discuss with Aisha Rahim, who is one of our beneficiaries for the Workspace voucher under our Lagos Innovate arm. So hi Aisha, thanks for coming in on this session today. It's really great to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's great to connect with one of my very early supporters, being LSETF.
Okay. So I wanted us to really go into your journey, in the agri sector, and really have an idea of I just wanted to have an idea of a background of your experience, running a tech-enabled company, and why you chose this particular journey, why you chose this particular path.
Yeah, sure. I'll go back a bit just so there's a bit of history. So I didn't study agriculture. I don't come from an agriculture family. My venture into agriculture was following a personal health experience that made me take food more seriously, look into the industry, and just find so many gaps in the sense that we overproduce in certain aspects, but then again, the poor quality practices mean that we waste a lot of our food. Then people are still going hungry. So it's a bit of a catch-22 where there's a lot of production, but then again, there's a lot of waste. And then overuse of chemicals in production processes as well affects our health. More so in the developed world than in the developing world like Nigeria. I mean, the idea birthed itself whilst I was still working in asset management in the UK. Hence why I'm just going back a bit, that, how could you leave investment and then come into Agric? So that was the transition. And so in 2019, after taking a decision to leave my corporate job and focus on building Farm2U, and our vision is to help farmers farm better. I initially started with a program with Seed Stars. They're an accelerator program, and they help with founders' investment readiness and also helping you understand how to structure your business, product development, things like that. And that was super useful. Through that program, I was able to interact with other entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and also to have a better understanding of what it is like to build a tech-enabled business. And the plus as well was that we had a co-working space. And as that program was running up, it was coming to an end, I was then thinking, and at this time we were two members. There are two people in the team now. And there's this thing about working in an environment with other people that are building solutions. It might not be entirely the same business or industry, but there's this buzz that it's really helpful to be in that communal space where you guys are sharing similar challenges, opportunities, things like that. And I heard about the Workspace voucher, and of course I went for it. So we were hot desk. We were working out of cafes like Art Cafe in VI or Cafe Nero, like just hopping about, working together for about 3 months until we then got the Lagos Workspace voucher for a year, which was great. For the first 6 months, we were working out of Workstation, something we couldn't afford without LSETF's help, because at this time we're still trying to figure out how to build a business, how to get revenue in. And of course, COVID happened. So we lost a chunk of that. We went back to virtual. We couldn't really have that collaborative engagement I was referring to. So we lost that for about most of 2020, as most other people lost. And we were lucky enough to get the Workspace voucher for another year. I mean, taking into consideration that we lost most of it the previous year. So now we are in, we since left a workstation and actually moved to Innovation Hub because our team has grown in size. I mentioned we were 2 at 2019. We're now a team of 10.
Yeah.
You know, we're increasing our revenue, we're growing our user base of farmers that we're supporting. And it's just to show you that transition of where we were before and where we are today. And I can't remember what the question was, but hopefully that explains a bit of the history and the trajectory of
Yes.
where I was in the past and where we are now.
Yes, it does, and thanks for that. You know, I was going to say that I'm happy that you mentioned COVID, but then I'm not happy COVID happened. I just want to clarify that. That's the way I'm going with this. So, but I just, because that brings me to the next question, and you know, I know that COVID hit everybody, but it specifically hit this sector really bad, because I know that, you know, a lot of people who either had people lost money from every angle, both the investors and the founders and whatnot. So when this whole COVID thing happened, what really still motivated you to keep pushing? Why did you decide to stick through it? Why, you know, you could have said, oh, okay, I can just branch into something else. There's some other part of it that doesn't cost as much or isn't as tedious or doesn't have these many challenges. So what made you really stick through it?
I mean, I already made a huge plunge in the sense of leaving my familiar space, which is a paid job, a well-paid job in a very prominent industry. Asset management is one of the largest industries in London where I was working. And I decided to make that plunge. So already you can tell I have a high threshold for risk. Secondly, you don't run away from a problem when, you know, if a kitchen is burning, I mean, of course, you think of your safety first, but you don't then
I'm just going to tell you,
the entire flat. But you don't give up on the entire flat. You try to save the kitchen, right? You don't just run away when danger appears. You think about how do I change my strategy? How do I think about this from a different aspect? You know, farmers really suffered during the COVID pandemic. They were unable to connect with markets, something that was already a problem pre-COVID. Now, after COVID, it was accelerated. Last year, there was an issue with maize where there was actually had to be, because there's a ban on maize, there had to be a temporary allowance to actually allow us import maize because lots of chickens were dying because there were no feeds for them to keep breeding them. There are lots of problems. And, you know, a place that an industry, agriculture makes up from the aspect of Nigeria, it employs most of Nigerians. If I start talking about the dynamics of northern versus southern Nigeria is very different from northern Nigeria. Agriculture remains the primary employment opportunity in northern Nigeria. So you might not have been to the north, so you might be thinking, oh, it's not. You've been to the north. I was in Kano last week. It's a different ball game, right? So it employs so many people, and
that's true.
The whole point of me coming into this was to make change, to make social impact. So, I mean, it was not easy. Don't get me wrong. It was not easy at all. COVID affected so many people, but one thing we've learned from COVID is our healthcare and our food is one thing we can't live without. You can live without TV, you can live without transport, but you can't live without food, and your health is number one, right? So for those reasons, that's why we had to think and even go stronger. I mean, even despite COVID, we grew as a team, so many opportunities. We're able to increase our revenue, increase our user base as well. And that was by looking at the strategy from a different lens. So yeah, I think that's my COVID answer.
Yes. And don't say COVID answer. Actually, people run away from the session. Just to do a bit of a reset. You know, those of us who sleep on Clubhouse, but just to do a bit of a reset for people who are just joining in, because we're actually to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages, if I'm correct. So for everybody who has joined, this is our weekly live session, Career Journeys and Prospects. and it's sponsored by the Lagos Innovates arm of LSETF. Today we're talking to Aisha Rahim, who's the founder of Farm2U. And we also have Iriayo, who is kind of farmsing us in a way, but she's in on this session as well. Her team has her team is sponsoring this session. So yes, her unit is sponsoring this session, and she leads the she's the head of the Lagos Innovate Stroke Startups team for LSETF. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in, and we will check them out. Yes. So thanks, Aisha. I hear all what you're saying, and you have shared really great insights. I wanted to know that I really wanted to go into the lessons that you've learned on this journey. Because I mean, being a founder in this economy is tough, but then being a founder anywhere in the world is tough. But with our unique problems, it's a little more interesting over here. So I wanted to know what lessons you've learned so far on this journey, and also what you've also learned in the past, I would say about 1 year, which we know has been different from anything everybody has ever experienced on Earth. So yeah.
So I'll start with the last question before going to the first one. So what have I learned in the last year? Revenue is very important. I mean, the accolades, the recognition that you get, those things are great, but revenue remains one of the most important things in terms of building a sustainable business. Because without revenue, you then are dependent on other streams of money in terms of borrowing from banks or leveraging investors. And as you start to increase that pool of
Yes.
external funds that are different from the business, then your vision starts to get blurred because you then start having conflicting stakeholder interests. So I think it's one of the most sustainable ways that revenue is one of the most sustainable ways to grow your business through retained earnings. So that's a key learning, key takeaway. I mean, that's not to say no to investor money. No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. But ultimately, you need to build a business that is sustainable financially. I mean, if you're not running a charity or an NGO, that's to say. But if you're really running something that's for profit, you have to have that approach. Secondly, mental health, top of mind always. The thing is that they said work no they finish. So there's always going to be something that needs to be done. So it's up to you to make sure that you're in the best frame of mind to be the best version of yourself. Because, for instance, if you're stressed out or you're not in a good creative space, or all these things would contribute to you not being able to perform at your best in building a business. And you need to be at your best to be able to think through problems and find an optimal solution. So those are two things that really have helped in being navigational tools for me in the last year. I know that lots of people all over the world, they're still dealing with, thank goodness that we have our lives. Those of us that are on the call, people have lost their lives because of COVID. So you have to, start thinking what's really important in life. And that's another reason why I'm, in response to your question, why didn't I run away with all these problems when COVID happened and decided not to build on Farm2U anymore? Living with purpose and realizing that you're building something that can positively impact people, it can make a huge change. It really does help solidify yourself in terms of being in a good mental frame, and also building something that's worthwhile. If you're building something that's worthwhile, it helps push. And then the first question, sorry, what was the first question now? Sorry.
Lessons. So lessons generally that you've learned.
Right. Okay. So as opposed to just the last year, just general lessons.
Yes.
I remember very early on in this entrepreneurial journey was all about, money, you need money fast, and money. But we've been bootstrapping for the, since we started. Of course, things like Workspace Voucher really made that happen, because for over a year we didn't have to pay rent.
Yes.
And that's something that could, if you're having to think about rent and then think about employee salaries and think about that, at least the Workspace voucher took a bit of headache away, and then you start thinking about the other stuff. So that was really helpful. But you can build a sustainable business, and I know the Lagos State is doing a lot to really help the tech space, in the sense of providing things like LSETF. I know that they provide loans as well, but we didn't feel like we needed that at the point at our point of growth. Hence why we didn't apply. But I'm sure that support was available. So those sort of things really do help you. But you can still build without money. It's all about trying to make best use of what you have. Some of my team members didn't earn salaries for the first couple of months, and how were they paid? Through sweat equity. And one thing I always make very clear: Aisha is not Farm2U. I just happen to be the person that is responsible from a fiduciary point of view for Farm2U, which is a different entity separate from me. So it's not like, you have to change this mindset. Lots of Nigerian entrepreneurs I meet, it's all about, oh, it's all mine, 100% equity, blah, blah, blah. 100% of zero is zero. 10% of 100 million is still something. So you have to start thinking about, how do I organize myself, get team members that can help me build this vision, because you cannot do it yourself. You absolutely can't. LSETF cannot be run by one individual. A government cannot be run by one individual. So you have to start thinking of your business from that point of view. And okay, I don't have money. What can I give this person? What perks can I give this person? Can I give them equity? So those sort of approaches can really help you start to think about, okay, how can I grow my business without having sufficient capital? And yeah, I think that was a huge one for me, because I've really been lucky. I'm having people that share my vision and willing to because ultimately, if you're trying to get someone to buy into that vision, it's time, and you really have to make sure that you're giving them the values that are aligned to theirs.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, because I'm just here thinking that, I mean, having talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, I know that there's usually this constraint with, okay, if money doesn't exchange hands, or if the right amount of money doesn't exchange hands, the job doesn't get done properly. Either whether this could be you dealing with staff, or you dealing with vendors or partners or whatever. So now that I see that you have, I mean, you've been lucky and you've taken this from a different point of view. You have a different experience with this. I would like you to touch on that a little, how people can really get things done with tinier funds, and how they can either leverage relationships or, work out partnerships that can still get them to the goal without necessarily needing a huge amount of money, especially when they're just starting out.
Yeah, thanks. Luck definitely played a part, but also it's about being intentional. I mean,
Yes.
when I now going to a team of 10, I couldn't have been lucky with every single one of them, right?
Yes.
How I think about the value system in response to money changing hands. Money is an extrinsic value to, earning something from a job. Whereas things like job satisfaction, career progression, job security, and when I say security, it's not that you're getting fired tomorrow only, is what I mean. It's kind of like being in a safe space where you're really trying, you're with people you like, you're not in a toxic environment. All those things are intrinsic. And to an extent, they outweigh money. To an extent, because after a point, it's like, if you're working to just receive a certain amount of money in your bank account, okay, then what? Because money is infinite, right? And it's like, the money can always be more. You can get 100K tomorrow, and then you say, oh, I want 150K. Oh, now I want 200K. It never stops. But then if you also focus on building a culture, and that's something I noticed Paystack has. I've watched a few of their videos and spoken to a few of their employees. They have an amazing culture. And I personally would rather work in a place that is paying me 300,000 a month and has an amazing culture than a place that is paying me $1 million and I basically hate myself every time I go to work.
Aisha, 300,000 is a lot of money. I thought you were going to say 50,000 a month.
Well,
That's
300
okay.
to a million. So I made the comparison. So
Yeah.
some people will say I will go for that 1 million, but trust me,
Yeah.
after the first couple of months, when you find that you hate yourself, you hate in fact, you come home, your wife, your husband is angry, you're just, what is the word?
Yeah.
Angry, and then it's to impact your relationship. These things do spread. So I mean, that's the approach I take. I connect to people on an intrinsic value. Every team member at Farm2U is beyond the amount, is beyond the salary. They all have equity stake, and it's the culture. It's about creating an environment where we're all working towards a vision. We don't have to have the same what's the word, endpoint, but it's like we all have similar views that, okay, this is for social good. And we call our employees hitchhikers. The rationale behind that is that everyone at Farm2U is on a journey to something else. And it's like, by being at Farm2U, you're getting the skills, the tools to help you do that. An intern recently joined us, and what he said to me was, I've been at university, I won't say this university, for 3 years studying computer engineering, and I couldn't write one line of code. Within 2 months, he's now coding, and he's coding in React. For me, that's a win, because it's now beyond the salary. It's about creating an environment that people are becoming their best version of themselves.
Awesome. Whenever you're going to recruit next, Aisha, you just need to pick this video. We'll just help you edit some parts and put it into the brief. When people watch it, they'll be as inspired as we are now. So, what kind of skills do you think people require to thrive in a sector like yours?
Perseverance, resilience, to an extent, blind optimism. Because you'll be knocked down so many times. There are times just be like, oh my God, it really doesn't have to be this hard, but you just have to persevere, and you always have to find your North Star. And when I say North Star, it's like on the compass, the N on a compass. It's like, anytime I find myself, so frustrated, because I do find myself, I wake up and I'm like, why did I actually do this? Why didn't I just stick with my good, well-paid job? And I'm like, I wouldn't be happy if I was doing that. I always ask myself, I will always feel like I'm cheating myself. But then I have to remind myself my why, which is my North Star. Why am I doing this? And I think about, all the people behind my why. And going back to the story of the intern I gave, that's a part of the why. Because it's like, you put yourself in a mindset where what you're doing is bigger than, I want to become a millionaire. Although that could be your North Star, that's fine. But for me, it isn't, right? So you have to find what your own personal why is. And I think those three things, perseverance, resilience, which are kind of similar, and blind optimism. I mean, blind optimism, of course, don't be stupid. If you're building something that's, let's say you're trying to build a three-wheeled car, come on, four-wheeled car is the standard. If you're trying to build a three-wheeled car, is it functional? Why would anyone leave a four-wheeled car, which is the standard, to a three-wheeled car? So it's like, don't build a solution where there's obviously no value being created. So yeah, I think that's what I would say to that.
Okay, please, 1 second. I need to do a quick disclaimer. Hello, God, just in case if you are listening, she's the only one that's not interested in being a millionaire. The rest of us, we are not. We are, please. Just so we don't confuse the angels if we are around.
Mister, I want to Dangote money.
Okay, I'm just saying. So that there will be no confusion anywhere. Well, so, and thanks for that. So now I want us to zero in how important it is, because I know sometimes when people start up as entrepreneurs, they're so caught up in, so I'm trying to build this amazing product, I'm just going to build it in my room or in my parlor where nobody can see me or steal my idea or anything like that. So I want you to really help us go into the benefits of networking and working in a space where you have people who are building other things. Because I'm happy you mentioned about Workstation and the other place that the Workspace voucher gave you access to. So what was the difference between working there and when you were just working out of cafes or in your corner or in your home or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Well, they say ideas are cheap, implementation is everything. That's one thing my co-founder always says. Everyone has ideas. It's all about putting that idea to paper. I mean, in my
Very
early days, I was one of those people as well that, oh, I want to talk to somebody about something, NDA, NDA, NDA. And after a while, I was like, no, what's the NDA for? Like, because when you start having conversations with people, the idea starts to change.
That's true.
Because someone says that, oh, have you thought about this? And then you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. And then the idea becomes, slightly different. Maybe you were thinking of I want to farm in a greenhouse versus I want to farm in an open field, or I want to build an educational technology platform that is for WAEC, but I'm not taking into consideration NECO. These are just examples, but it's through conversations with people in the industry that you then start to formulate a better implementation plan. But of course, you have to protect yourself. It depends on a lot of being an entrepreneur is learning on the job, because unlike school where you have a teacher and you can say, oh, sir, this page or workbook, what's the solution? You go into a textbook. There isn't a textbook for being an entrepreneur. A lot of it is learning on the job and trusting your instincts and trusting your gut. I think networking is super important. By being in Workstation, I met a number of people in other industries, some of whom I'm still in contact with even after not being in the space anymore. Sometimes we have conversations like, you have like a bullpen where it's an area where everybody is there. And it's like you just hear this person having a conversation about maybe an API, about a new company that translates code into local languages. There's actually something called Ajala.ai. They translate code into local languages, currently Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Swahili. Those sort of things happen, when you hear those kind of conversations in public, and then you're like, oh, I could use that in my solution. But if you were cooked up in your house or your whatever, you wouldn't have that benefit. So it's really good to always try to take yourself out of your circle or your comfort zone or your bubble and really try to think about diversifying your thoughts process, because that only really helps you to see things from different lenses.
Then thanks for that. At least now we know that we'll be sending an invoice to the Ajala.ai for the free publicity giving them one So I also wanted to, I mean, with if you look at workspaces as well, I also wanted to really touch on how this could be some motivation for your staff as well. How do you think, what was the difference between when they were working out of cafes or on their own compared to when you guys were able to, maybe work in a place together? How do you think that, did you see an impact on the business, on your company directly and generally the staff morale?
Yeah, definitely. So in fact, our reason for leaving Workstation and going to Innovation Hub is because we had outgrown at Innovation Hub, we were hot desking. So we didn't have, and then we're now with much bigger teams. So we needed a private office. Hence why we moved to Innovation Hub. And prior to that move, it was a case where we had to share who is coming in on this day. And there wasn't really an opportunity for everybody to be in the same room. But now it's so different. I mean, we operate a hybrid model where we work remote and also in person.
Okay.
And prior to that, we're mostly remote. Please let me know if the background noise is too much. It seems like we're back. But prior to being, in our new private office that could accommodate all of us, that click wasn't there, that rapport, because it's different when you're typing something or you're on Google Meet. And especially our parents are very guilty of this. You read a message and then you start reading it with someone says, why did you do that? They might be asking inquisitively, like, why did you do that? Or like, oh, why did you do that? Shouting type of thing, right? But if you don't have, if you're not like, what's the word? Having physical time with me, you might not know in what tone my typing might be. So it's really important to have that element of in-person engagement, because it helps the chemistry. Because without it, there's a lot of friction, and we're finding a lot of friction when we were purely remote, especially during like 2020 when lockdown happened, everyone was staying at home. A
Yeah.
lot of things weren't getting done, and even though we were like on Google Meet, we were on online calls, it was just different to when we actually started being in person again.
You know, and I have a funny question now. Oh, I've said it's funny, it has killed the humor. Anyway, I have a question now. So, what tricks did you learn from, or yeah, what tricks did you learn from when you had to work out of cafes? Did you always have to like buy meals for the entire team?
My favorite place, yeah, I mean, my favorite place was Art Cafe, right? I'll go there and I had this like I'll have their prices have gone up now thanks to food inflation, which we know has price of chicken is now times 3 than what that the
Yeah.
live chicken what it was in January, so which is a pain. But anyway, before prices were so terrible, I would spend 3K and be there for the day. And whilst I'm there, I would have like a coffee. I'll have like yam chips and suya stick as well. So yeah, I loved art. I still go there. I love Art Cafe. It has this vibe where it's very cultural, very artsy. It was very nice for my creative mindsets. But yeah, you could go to. I mean, you didn't. I didn't need to spend 3K. I could have spent 1,000. So, I mean, there's always a way. You can just order a water. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and if you're so hungry, you step out, which I used to do sometimes. When I'm actually hungry for lunch, I'll step out, go have lunch somewhere else, come back. So it was like my office, all the
Yeah.
way knew me. So yeah, that was my
Did you
trick.
ever sneak food into your bag when you were going there?
No, I wasn't. I didn't. I had to
And
be very
nobody
nice.
that you know too.
I mean, I would hope not. I hope not, because the worst thing you would want is because there's a sign clearly no outside food or drinks. You don't want them to be like, oh,
Yes.
you disobeyed our rules, so you're banned from here. That would have been absolutely
I agree.
crazy.
I agree. That would be really embarrassing. So,
Exactly.
you know, and thanks so far. I've learned so much from this conversation, and you know, it brings me to the next thing where you know I was just wondering. I know that a lot of times when people think of this sector, sometimes they can be very narrow-minded in terms of the opportunities. So they are thinking, oh, so you're just either on a farm or maybe you're just moving tractors. You know, sometimes people don't understand how big it is or how many opportunities there are in this sector. So I just wanted you to like touch on how diverse it is and the different roles people can play if they're looking to go in there as tech-enabled entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about human advancement from the Victorian age, the industrial age, to the servicing age, and then digital age, which is what we are in, almost crossing over to now not just the internet but the presence of like biotech, augmented reality, virtual reality.
Yeah.
Agriculture was one of those pinnacle moments through which economies were built on the back of agriculture. So agriculture is bigger than the farmer. You know, what's the word? Being on the farm and pulling some maize and putting it in a bag is much bigger than that. And the challenge that we have, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, is the fact that we never fully advanced the agricultural sector before crossing
Very
over
true.
to industrial. You know, we don't have processing plants. 70% of cocoa comes from Nigeria, West Africa, you know, particularly Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana.
Ghana. Yeah.
Yes, less than 1% of the over $1 billion industry goes to foreign companies, particularly Switzerland. You might have recently heard that Ghana is no longer exporting cocoa to
Yeah.
Switzerland. Switzerland has since come up with what's it called now? You know, the ones they manufacture in the lab. So manufactured cocoa that's not real, because they see it as a huge threat, right? So I say all this to say that agriculture is such an important structure on which, or rather, important industry on which economies are built on. You have to connect production with processing before you then export. You know, it's not a case of we produce tomato in northern Nigeria, yet we don't have canned tomatoes by any local Nigerian company.
Yes.
The list goes on. At least there are new brands now with cocoa. There's a company called Dune, Dune.
Yes.
The chocolate is amazing. And I make it I don't buy chocolates other than Dune. I used to be a Lindor fan before, but it's my civic responsibility I see now to make sure that I only buy Nigerian chocolate. So the industry is massive, and there's progress being made. Processing of produce that we grow locally is starting to pick up. You have like Real Fruits that does dried fruits. You have Food Pro that does cashew, and it's starting to develop. So we are playing in the space of helping strengthen production. So we support smallholder farmers with a focus on 18 to 35-year-olds. Why is that? The average farmer's age is 65. Lots of people are not going into farming. In fact, you ask an average Nigerian youth, farming, no, I'm not a poor man or something like that. You know what I mean? So one of the key things that we're trying to do is even rebranding farming, because in developed countries such as the Netherlands, the US, the UK, farmers are wealthy. It's just because of how it's been structured locally that farmers don't get the best out of their resources. So what we do at Farm2U is provide them farmers with digital extension services with a focus on 18 to 35-year-olds. That's not to say that if you're older or young, well, if you're younger, no, because that means you're not working age. But if you're older, we're going to chase you away, no. So we focus on giving them the expertise of, what do you grow based on your soil, what variety of seedling, because lots of people, they do trial and error. Oh, my grandfather was doing like this, so I shall do it. So if your grandfather was going to walk in front of a moving truck, would you do that as well? So it's about, being smarter about the decisions you're making. Yeah. And then on the other side, we provide access to resources like, for instance, affordable loans, connecting farmers with affordable loans, high quality inputs, as well as a market to sell their produce. In fact, as we speak, we're rounding up a project to help farmers in ginger farmers, most of whom are from Kaduna State, to export ginger to Asia. So this is the space we're playing in, where we are basically helping farmers farm better with data using digital extension. This is the training and also access to resources. We can't do it all by ourselves. In fact, on the affordable loans component, we're working with microfinance institutions and banks. On the high quality input sourcing, we're working with input providers like Harvest Plus under CGIAR. Yeah, in the IITA office in Ibadan. Okay. And also Hello Tractor and Tofan, who offer tractor services. And finally, in terms of buyers, working with FMCG companies and processing companies to exports as well. So this is the space we're playing in, where as a smallholder farmer, I use our web app, and I can basically, through one point, decide, okay, this is what I'm going to grow based on where my farm is. I'll grow maize. Okay, I don't have enough money to grow maize. Okay, I apply for a loan through the platform. That loan is disbursed into Farm2U's platform as a digital wallet. What that does is, for the loan provider, the farmer is not going to run away and use the funds for other services other than farming, because they have to transact on the digital wallet. It also connects the farmers with our input providers like Harvest Plus, which I mentioned, Hello Tractor to hire tractor services, and at the end of the process, the farmer is then able to sell their produce to an off-taker. So it's just making everything seamless, that from my perspective, if I want to go into farming, it doesn't seem so exhausting and unreachable.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That was really detailed. And I agree with you on everything you've said, including the bit about the Dune chocolate. Not to say I eat it a lot. I'm just saying that it's truly amazing. So if I were to ask you what your best moments were, at least till date, your best moments when you were at the workstation, I mean, with the provision of the Workspace voucher, what would you say your best moments were for you, and maybe even for your staff as well? What would you say about the experience that you can say,
so we have this quarterly meetings, and at that quarterly meeting, we basically come together and think about. It's a way to look at the high level and see, okay, this is how we performed the last 3 months. This is what worked well. This is not what worked well. And then this is what we're going to do for the next quarter, which is the next 3 months. So we have that regularly. And the last one we actually had at Workstation is funny. The customer personas we came up with were, I mean, it's no news to anyone. I mean, hush puppies in the news that we have a huge risk of having youth go into Ford. And we had to come up with the customer persona as to how do you make farming appealing to folks that, you know, have all these competing things around them that is like easy money and whatnot. And to be honest, by going into that business, it's not easy money because you have you know, authorities behind your back. You're always driving and you're looking back type of thing. So we had to model our way of thinking and say, okay, how do we actually get these people in and say that, well, 18 to 35 years, consider becoming a farmer type of thing.
Yeah. And
it was a really cool conversation. We were pretty loud that day because there was a lot of laughter and we were on the top floor of the meeting room. Eventually we actually even had insights from other companies within the workspace as well. And ended the day with pizza. So I think that was a really memorable experience in the sense that, I mean, something that could seem so daunting, you look at it from a playful perspective and try to make value. And of course, food is always nice as well to end.
I was just going to ask you, when the next hop tour is, so I know what I'm doing. Let me put it in my schedule so I can go eat some pizza.
No, we're not doing pizza.
Please, we'll love it.
We're doing rice this time.
We'll still come. Yeah. Thank you, Aisha. That was very insightful. And I mean, you've shared so much. You shared so much with us that I think that everybody can learn from. Either they want to go into the sector or they're already in it or whatnot. I feel like you've shared so many insights that people can, that will truly be beneficial to people. And I mean, now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Iriaya, could you give us information on how we can access these workspace vouchers and the different categories of the workspace vouchers available?
Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you so much, Aisha. Aisha has really sold the Workspace Voucher Program for us. So if I start with the Workspace Voucher Program, actually falls under one of the units at LSETF. And what we do is support high potential founders or startups in Lagos State. And it's at their very early stage to kind of just get them, at their ventures to help them. As Aisha mentioned, she said, actually accessing the Workspace Voucher gave her a home for her company or her business. And what we do is we do this by facilitating access to well-equipped workspaces and for learning. We've partnered with about 37 hubs across Lagos State. So no matter where you are in Lagos State, if you're applying to the Workspace Voucher Program, you would decide what hubs you go to. And how do we do this? Our Workspace Vouchers are categorized in, we've got 3 categories. So depending on what stage your business is at, we decide what value you're given. So the first category is voucher A, which is it's 50,000. It's 25,000 per month for one person or 2 persons to go to any of our partner hubs. The voucher B is 50,000 for 6 months, and you can use any of our co-working spaces, our partner co-working spaces. And then you have the voucher C, which is 150,000 for a year. I love what Aisha mentioned about it provides you collaborative environment where you would meet other businesses doing the same thing or different things as you go, facing the same challenges that MSMEs are facing, or should I say in this instance, tech-enabled MSMEs. And we know MSMEs are really important for a developing country because we create jobs, you increase the GDP of the country, you increase taxes, they employ the most people. Our Workspace Voucher Program portal is open in the moment, so please go over to our either website www.lstf.ng or www.lagosinnovates.com and apply to our Workspace Voucher Program. Any questions, Amadara? Or any questions from our viewers? Amadara, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Okay, great. So
Okay, I
can you
can
hear me
hear you
now?
now. Yes, we can.
Thanks for that, Iriayo. I think that, yeah, so people thanks everybody who's tuning in. Please, you can send us questions via our Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook page. If you want to know anything about the Workspace voucher at all, how you can apply, where you can apply, like Iriayo has mentioned, please feel free to send in the questions and we'll take them. I think it's just important maybe to discuss a little bit around the requirements of what people would need to apply for the Workspace voucher. So I think we can just touch on that again a little, because people might want to know. So for example, if I'm in Abuja, can I get the Workspace voucher, or Quara, or something like that? So I think, yeah.
Okay, so for our Workspace vouchers, well, our interventions are for Lagos residents. So you have to be a Lagos resident and your business should be based in Lagos State. We are using taxpayers' money for these programs. So if you're tech enabled, you can apply, and it could be from any stage. I mean, if you apply for the Workspace voucher program, we have other programs under the Lagos Innovates unit where if you don't fit into one, we'll direct you to where you can fit. But if you're in Abuja, you can apply in Lagos. Amadara, I can't hear you if anyone's speaking.
Yeah, I think she's frozen. I can't hear her either.
I think I disappeared. So we put it in there. So for more details, you can check out our web, more details on the Workspace voucher, www.lagosinnovates.ng. Okay, somebody said I'm with you. Okay, great. So if you have any questions, we'll give about 5 minutes to take questions that anybody might have. But till we get there, I mean, if you were going to highlight the top 3 most important benefits of the Workspace voucher area, what would it be?
So I would say your operational costs will be halved. You have access to network, you have access to high-speed internet, and you have people that are starting businesses and you're paying for power, costs a lot. And as we know, the economy, everything costs a lot. So when you have this, it's like you're not worried. You've like Aisha mentioned, a large chunk of what your worries are with your business is dealt with. So you can face your actually working on your business itself.
Okay, thank you, Iriayo. So actually, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I'm trying to build a solid reputation here. So I won't put you on the spot. I will just say that we would ask that please, people within your space as well, let them know about the Workspace voucher so that they can also, benefit from this, reduce the operational costs, and so I'm not going to ask how many people you've told.
No, I absolutely share. I absolutely share. I think one beauty about, so I told you about me starting in Seed Stars. It's through Seed Stars I heard about Workstation, and it's about Lagos Innovates. And by being in Workstation, I heard so many things. So it's like by being in this bubble, you're already, by default, privy to information that you otherwise wouldn't have. So yeah, it's my civic duty to spread the news.
Aisha, I love the growth from 2 to 10 team members. I mean, it makes me smile. I'm so happy to support into Farm2U.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I agree. It's amazing. And I
would always, what's the word? Share this as often as possible and share my experiences because, like I said, without the support of the Workspace vouchers, who knows if it would be 10 by now.
Awesome. And I am particularly leaving this session with a very important reflection point that's going to go into my journal. You keep saying it's my civic duty. So I'm asking myself now, Dara, what is your civic duty?
What is your civic duty?
Because Aisha has told us like 10 now on this session alone. So I need to go and ask myself, what's my civic duty? So I know why I'm here. So thank you very much. This session has been amazing. It has been very, very insightful. I love the confidence. I love the zeal. I love everything about, how you've really, how you've spoken as a founder. And I like the positivity as well. So, even though I know that there must have been challenges you faced, here and there, there has been a lot of positivity that has come out of this session. So thank you very much, Aisha. Please give us information on how people can either get on board, either with with what you're doing at Farm2U, the website, whatever it may be. Please, you can communicate that now in the last few minutes of this session.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Amadara, and thank you, Riayo, for having me. I think, if you want to reach out either to Farm2U, you can drop us a message on any of our social media channels, our handles, our website, farm2u.com. You can also read more about us, have a view at who the team members are. All our social media handles end with Farm2U, so Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then also if you want to reach out to me directly, Aisha Rahim on LinkedIn, as well as, that's no longer allowed. So I shall just say LinkedIn is my only social media channel now. So yeah.
Aisha, don't let us off your mic, please.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being on this session. Both Aisha and Iria, if you have words that you would like to say, anything you like to say, we can take that now and then we'll call it a day. I think we have about 3 minutes left, so yes.
I'll just invite. Oh, sorry, Iria.
Oh no,
go. You go ahead, Aisha. Please go ahead.
I'll just end the call by saying things might look bleak at the moment, on a national level, also at a global level, but think about all the things that we have overcome as a human race. There's been famine, there's been the Black Plague, there've been so many things that we've overcome. So I just think it's the audacious people, the fact that you have the audacity to solve such a huge problem, that really does help us move forward. So if you have an idea, crazy as it might be, just go for it. And you'll be surprised as to how easy things start to align. I mean, it's like rolling up a hill. It gets really hard when you're going up, but then, it gets easy so quickly. So yeah, just hang in there and be blindly optimistic, not stupid.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you very much for that, Aisha. So
my last words, thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you, Amadara. So my last words was thank you again, Aisha, for being here. You've just made me more determined to work hard in helping MSMEs or creating an enabling environment for MSMEs to play their role in the social development of Lagos State and eventually Nigeria. Thank you so much, guys.
Please, me too, I'm motivated.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thanks for everybody who joined on our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn channels. We would have another session like this again next week. And you can still send us in your questions, and then you can go to the website as well to sign up for the Workspace voucher. Thank you, everyone, for joining in to Career Journeys and Prospects. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys. Bye, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.